Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be going to final boss of Dark Visions 25 and I'm going to be showing you a way to do it using Berserker Rikku to counterattack the boss. Now this way is highly reliant on luck and RNG because it's random how many attacks the boss does and it's random if Rikku counters or not, plus you've got variance in there as well. So you may do like minimal damage or extreme damage depending completely on your luck, but you know, if you get a good roll, this can deal a pretty good amount of damage. So let's get in here and do a clear, and then I'll explain the team, explain the gear, turn chart will be in the comments, etc. And I'll explain stuff step by step and the reason we're doing it. So first of all, on turn 1, we got to get the boss under 90%, but not below 80%. Because above 90, the boss dispels every turn, and below 80, the boss does a big AoE every turn. So we want to get the boss, you know, between 90 and 80% on turn 1. So we're going to shifted LB Ash. We're going to use Berserker Rikku to just triple cast bolting. We're going to use Ferris to use her shifted LB. Wilk, start in the base, go to the shift, use his shifted LB. And then Rivera will just support chain. Now we're going to chain these up. It's going to mostly chain. Make sure that Ferris is clicked first. So let's go ahead and chain this up. And we got to get the boss under 90%, but don't go too far though. 87 is fine. Okay, after all is that is done, you want to do this afterwards. Leviathan Nicole is going to do Elemental Power Water on Rikku to start that amplify, True Enhancing Stance to refill Wilk's LB, and Flood to imperil the boss. So Ash is provoking with evasion and resistance. I'll show you the gear at the end. She's going to take all the turn 1 stuff. Okay, there we go. There's an imperil, etc. No big deal. You know, we're planned for it. There it is. Now on turn 2, we're going to use Rikku's LB first to put up her modifier buffs for her counterattack. Wait for this to finish. We don't want to chain anything. Wilk is now going to use Cloud-style Hurricane Fist to do a big fist in peril and unlock his break. We're going to use Rivera to do Mirage on the party. So we're going to do... where's the Mirage? Musical Barrier to Mirage the party. Ferris is going to put up the field. Ferris's field has to go first because hers is both sides. So she's going to put up her crowned 40% field. Leviathan can do the shifted LB for the stat buffs, etc. And then Ash is going to do Nethicite to stop the boss's magical attack that does non-elemental damage this turn. So some attacks, don't really care what the boss does, etc. Some death attacks, etc., but we're immune to it. Okay, so we're going to be killing the boss on his turn 3. So what we're going to do first is have Ash put up Machine Killies on Rikku. That's a 250 Machine Killer buff. We'll do the other... okay, before we do this, let's have Wilk do his 90% break. And this shouldn't push the boss because Wilk is actually not imbued. Perfect. Now we're going to put up the Leviathan field. Now, we want to put up Rikku's Berserk, which is going to... in the shift forms. We're going to shift Rikku and put up Vajra, which is her Berserk. Now, we don't want this to actually kill the boss, so or push the boss below 80. So in order to prevent that, we're going to have Ferris, 1,000 Needles, and then we're going to target Vajra on our own party. That way it gets miraged. Boom. Now, in order for Rikku to cover all the physical and counter it, we're going to use Rivera to Vigilant Orchestra on Rikku. Now, when we do this, the boss's turn 3 is going to be a completely random amount of physical attacks. It could be like none, or it could be like 30. It's literally between 0 and 30 physicals. I'm sorry, there's between 0 and 30 hits that you can counter. So some of them are AoEs. I think there's up to 5 AoEs, no, up to 4 AoEs, and up to, I think, 9 single targets. So up to, I think, 33 potential counters we can do. So it's very, very, very random how many times we counter. So I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to do a few runs. And once I get a acceptable, in my opinion, amount of counters, we'll continue the video. I'll show you the gear, etc. So let me go ahead and start doing a few runs. See you in a sec. Alright guys, let's give it a go and see how many times the boss does physicals for us. So machine arm a few times, big bomb a few times, nice. Freezer ray, hopefully she does some thunder grenades, nice. That wasn't a ton of physicals, that was unfortunate. Well, maybe we countered a bunch of them though, let's find out. We needed to go at least over 100 for our chain count score. Which it did. 118, that's on the lower end. But let's see what we get here. Oh, by the way, you don't see damage until the damage report at the end because, you know, counters happen on the enemy's turn and the fight ends. So you have to finish the fight to see your damage. That's a new high for me. So 16.2. So this can go significantly higher. That was very, very minimal counters on that turn. I mean, it wasn't minimal, it was okay, but the boss can do way more. We can go as high as like a 200 plus count chain score. So I'm gonna run it a few more times and see how we do. So I'll be right back, and if I don't get, you know, a new roll soon, I'll just upload this as is. So see you in a moment. Okay guys, that's 16 billion. I'm gonna go ahead and upload that because like I said, you can be here for hours and hours if you want to really chase a high roll. You know, I'll play with it more over the course of the next week or so, but for now, I'm gonna go ahead and upload the video as is. I'll have the turn chart in the comments, and again, this team could probably be improved. I'm sure it can. I'm sure lots of people will probably be posting Rikku clears. I know Kamikiro was really into this idea as well. So, yeah, you know. And as far as like a non-Rikku clear, based on my calculations, at least I couldn't do a normal team that does 16 billion or better. So this already does better than my own personal, you know, regular team. Anyway, I'll show you the team we're using. So we're taking Nicole because he does the field, the amplify, as well as the big 135 Imperil. He also fills LB gauge, and he does a 350 stat buff. We're taking Ash because she does a buff on turn 1. She also does the 250 machine killer. We're taking Ferris for the 40% amplify field, and honestly speaking, I don't even know if I ever enhanced her. I did actually. Yeah, I should have checked that earlier, but I did. Wilk is being taken for accuracy down, 90 break, and that's kind of it. Rivera is taken to let Rikku cover, and then Rikku is taken to deal all the damage. So here's the party. Nicole has to be on Leviathan. Base form, we're not using it, we start in the shift. Just some mana reduction, status immunity, and some Esper fill. The boss does status effects, just paralyzed, I think. By memory. So there we go, that's his setup. Ash, only using the shift form. Passive provoke, evasion, status immunity, death immunity. We're using Sword of Kings to net the sight on turn 2. And then she's got 200 or better to ice, and I think it's only ice. Yeah, it's only ice that matters. You need 200% to ice. And evasion, death immunity, I said all that, passive provoke. Oh, and I gave her the Leave It to Me card so that we can have a Sword in Peril on, or Great Sword in Peril on turn 1 to make that turn 1 burst easier. Rikku in the base form is using a double-handed fire element greatsword. We're not imbuing on turn 1, but we are using a fire weapon because we're getting an auto Imperil to fire from this and an auto greatsword Imperil. So we're doing that with just some chain damage, status immunity, etc. In her shift form, she is a counter build. She has 50% evasion plus Wilk's evasion down, or accuracy down, lets her be immune to all the physical. So 50 evade plus Wilk's 50 is, there we go, maxed out machine killer. We're getting counter cap up from the Titus card to be slot efficient. Double-handed fist build, double blizzard orbs for the countering, and Looming Wrath for the counter up. You know, two evasion materials, and then a double-handed machine killer materia. Also, make sure you are not too resistant to fire. So 60 fire resist is about all you really want, and don't cure her in peril, because we want her to be vulnerable to fire and thunder, by the way, so that she counters those attacks. And there we go. Ferris didn't use the base form. Shift form is using a dual wielding fire physical weapons. Titus's Garb. We use her to LB on turn 1, and that helps us push that 90% threshold. So LB on turn 1, LB damage versus machines. She's at 275 LB and 200 machine killer, so not great. But we needed, I tweaked it until I got just enough to push below 90, but not too low. And there's the setup, and she's chosen for the field, so you enhance her crown, her ability. And then we are using 1,000 Needles on turn 3 with her. Wilk starts in the base form for Obsidian Bracer for auto breaking, Titus's Garb. Shift form, he does his LB for the accuracy down. He's also got Dragon's Brush, Call of the Wild, and 12 LB per turn. So all of that, plus the Dragon's Brush, plus the cooldown from Nicole, so we can get his LB back-to-back. So we LB on turn 1, and we Hurricane Fist on turn 2, which does consume the LB gauge. He's not elemental doing his LBs. He's not doing a ton of damage, and he's our 90 breaker on turn 3. The turn chart's in the comments, but I'm not really explaining this well. And then a Rivera is using some Esperfill and Extreme Nova Materia, Fire Weapon, and then some mana reduction. And then, yeah, Rivera doesn't really matter too much. Make sure he's Paralyze Immune, or she's Paralyze Immune. Okay, so there's the Rikku clear. If you don't have Rikku, it might be a little tricky to get a really high rank in this Dark Vision, because it feels like Rikku is probably going to be where a lot of the high scores are coming from. But then again, it's very early. It's day 1. There may be more strategies, figured out over time, and maybe something will pass Rikku. Also, that 16 billion I posted can go so much higher if we got more counters on turn 3, and if the boss did more attacks. The amount of attacks the boss does, completely random. He might do no attacks. He might do 30 attacks. So super RNG. But there it is for now. I'll post more in the future. See you then.